Hi everyone, it's Paul from This Design That. Today I am going to try and upgrade my Speedball roller. Now, as you can see, this thing is quite flimsy. It's very easy to bend this metal bar, even to the point where it will scrape against the rubber roller itself. Now these Speedball rollers, they are pretty cheap. The rubber is actually pretty nice, and it's why I've decided to try and upgrade it, because I want to keep the rubber roller part, but this handle and the frame is just too flimsy to use. So what I've done is I've designed this upgraded model, which you can see here. I'm going to use plywood for the frame and the handle. I'm going to use 3D printed brackets, which will connect the roller to the plywood frame. And also I've got an aluminium bracket and a threaded rod to connect the handle to the frame. This should hopefully give me a sturdier and more robust roller. First, I'm going to set up a fixture plate. Now, I did this because I wanted to practice building fixture plates, because it's something I want to start getting into, because it will speed up the process of making parts like this. I'm using a Mighty Bite pit bull, and these are really good clamps for when you need a low profile clamping solution. It would be easier to use a drill press for these holes that I'm cutting now, but I don't have one, and I'm really pushing my end mill to its limit here. You can see I really don't have much clearance on these last cuts, but thankfully, because I now got the coolant set up with my CNC, I'm just flooding the hole, and I managed to machine these pockets without any end mill snapping. Previously, I always would end up snapping end mills when I'm trying to cut this deep. You can see that I'm able to cut the full part due to these low profile clamps. Unfortunately, my offsets were slightly off, and it resulted in the final finishing pass not cutting the outer part there. And I think these black streaks are from some leftover oil or some gunk that was left on the stock aluminium, which was a bit annoying because it did kind of ruin the finish, but yeah, for just a personal part, it doesn't really matter too much. All I had to do next was just flip the part over and face off the bottom of the metal. If I had time, I probably would have made another fixture which would position the piece perfectly so I could run a chamfer bit around the edges on the other side so it would look much neater. And lastly, I just machined a channel for the plywood to sit in. Once I'd cleaned it up, it was time to put a M10 thread into the part, and I'm going to be using some threaded rod to connect the handle to the frame. I'm just using some 15mm birch plywood here. For the handle, I've machined it in two parts, and I've cut a pocket for the nut to sit in. I just glued them together with some wood glue and sawed off the corners to create a hexagonal shape. If I had a lathe, I probably would have just made a circular handle, but once I sanded it, I do actually quite like the feel of this handle. I quite like a hexagonal. It kind of feels a little bit more ergonomic to actually grip. And lastly, I'm just finishing it off with some Osmo oil. You can see the threaded rod screws into the handle. I've just added a little bit of wood glue into the hole just to hold it all in place a little bit better. Putting it together is really easy. It just requires a few nuts and bolts. The 3D printed brackets, they're printed in PETG, and I've gone with 6 outer walls, so it should be very, very strong. I was actually really happy with how this turned out. It's very nice and robust. It makes using this roller much more enjoyable. It's much more sturdy. It doesn't buckle, it doesn't bend at all. You can even use 2 hands with this thing and it's not going to budge at all. So hopefully you enjoyed this project. If you've got your own Speedball rollers, definitely think about doing something like this. It really does improve the quality of the rollers overall. I'm going to hopefully be making a few more printmaking tools with my CNC. Maybe even one day I'll be making my own press, which would be really cool. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, if you've got any improvements that I could perhaps make to this, please feel free to put any ideas, any comments in the comment section below. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will catch you all later.